meeting order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Barb, do a roll call, please.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Here.
Councilmember Jerry Tveit.
Here.
Joe Muehlbauer.
Here.
Robert Fowler.
Here.
Rich Swann.
Here. Upon approval of tonight's agenda, I want to add one item, creating a work session here for coverage for the police to look at coverage to Oak Grove, whose contract's coming up with the Anoka County Sheriff. Did you get a motion for that, if I can?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vate makes that motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Muehlbauer makes that second. Any discussion at this time? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll discuss it. We'll set up a date during the meeting. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. I need a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda. Do I have that?
Make that motion.
Mr. Muehlbauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bauer makes that second. Do I have any discussion? Barring none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, moving on, we have that right now. We're going to stop right now to give out an award to our finance director before meeting open to the public. This is, I think, the 8th, right? The 8th? We're going to run out of wall space here, you know that? This is for Darcy Melba doing a great job with our finances, and I will give this to her from the GFOA. We used to do this in the 8th one, which was does that all that. So here you go. I want to say congratulations to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You have a picture taken?
Yeah, just push it anywhere on the screen.
Anybody sign up?
No one signed up.
Okay, well then we move on to special business, which you've already done. All right, new business, HKGI St. Francis Forward Redevelopment Plan, October 17th.
Mayor and Council, tonight before you, HKGI is going to present the final draft, the final version of the redevelopment plan. We began this process in July of 2016. Kevin will do a short presentation, then we'll request that Council adopt it so staff can begin to move forward.
You're on, Kevin.
Mayor. And thank you all. It's been a lot of fun working on this plan. I'd like to thank the elected officials here as well as the city staff who have worked with and a number of the residents who provided input on this. I think it's a strong plan for it. We've been following along with the project schedule this whole process, and we are at the end. Going back, it's important to remember, like I said, that we've had quite a bit of public input on this, some stakeholder interviews with numerous members of the county as well as property owners. Had 3 public workshops as well as an online workshop that's had the survey. Developers around here as well. Over 1,100 different points of input that we've got. So it's been a positive part of this plan. I think it's helped quite a bit in terms of how we understand the city and how the plan came together. Again, the plan purpose was to develop strategies for some of the underutilized properties in St. Francis, especially along Bridge Street and 47, to support business and property owners in St. Francis that the policy actions help move development forward, and opportunity really to improve the quality of life for St. Francis residents through some of the development that is planned. The vision for the plan was for St. Francis as an active small town on the Rum River, enjoying a high quality of life that meets the day-to-day needs of residents, workers, and visitors. Focusing on commercial districts, having places for a variety of jobs locally, as well as recognizing the role in the bigger region, and trying to create a place that works for all kinds of residents, whether an important local destination here, supporting and expanding the business community and being strategic about investments in terms of where we were putting your resources to try to get a bigger return on those investments. So here's the plan as we've talked through with a mix of uses, housing, commercial, industrial, and the expansion of the business park to the south some, as well as the opportunity long-term for some redevelopment of middle school if that's going to happen. And we try to do that in a way that the Bridge Street extension can still happen with the middle school still in place, and that if in the long term the middle school or the school district decides the better opportunity is to look at a different spot, that there's something in place that the city can go to and say, okay, here's what this property could become, along with the school district. Look at Bridge Street connection, especially with the, that signalized intersection, hopefully getting that signalized intersection very soon. As well as potential for that connection to go all the way through. Looking at the opportunity to build on the river as a destination, with the river ground on the other side of the bridge, and then try to create something on the other side of the river that could work a restaurant outfit or something else to bring people to the area. With the potential to have a community campus along Bridge Street, try to close some of the gap in between the school, the river, and the high school. Looking at the opportunities for infill and commercial, especially along Highway 47, as well as some of the jobs opportunities to the north. Looking at where there's opportunities for more residential infill throughout the community, and in different types of development as well, single family housing, townhomes, potentially some denser stacked housing as well. And then again, that long-term possibility for the school. It's, I think, important to remember that the city has a lot of opportunities in terms of properties that they own. When we're showing possibilities on spots that are privately owned, the idea behind the plan is to provide more of an opportunity if somebody is so inclined to want to sell their property, redevelop their property. It's not to say just because we put this in the plan, we're going to redevelop if somebody's not at a point where they want to do that. There are also a number of other initiatives in the plan, as we've discussed, building this into the comprehensive plan moving forward, and the land use control for the zoning that you will be updating as the comprehensive plan process moves forward. Trying to make sure that there is something in place that is an annual review saying, okay, how have we been doing on implementing this stuff, both as a check and as well as the opportunity to kind of celebrate some of the successes. Looking at the possibility for streetscape and public realm improvements as things are being constructed. An emphasis on the stoplight at Highway 47 Peterson. Looking at signage as a way to help people from here to understand how to move out of town, get to different destinations. Looking at design guidelines for what the future development should look like, what kinds of things you want to see, what sorts of fits and finishes, things like that. And that helps developers understand kind of what's being asked of them as they're looking at different projects. Expanding the trail network and connecting with the river, recognizing that the realm is a unique asset for the community that not a lot of other cities have. We're looking at promotional and marketing pieces for city staff to lead. Key outcomes so far, like I said, have quite a bit of feedback from the community. And I think one of the things that has shown up in some of the surveys were just thank you for listening. Hopefully this is a plan that exhibits kind of a commitment to listening to people, recognizing that the constituents really care about kind of what's happening in their community, transportation discussions that have already started to get underway in terms of the stoplight and Bridge Street extension. It'll be important to those moving, beginning development discussions, both the developer roundtable that we had as part of this process as well. The city staff has already been able to get out and start promoting some development opportunities. They've at a real estate forum a couple weeks ago, starting to get some of the opportunity sites out in front of the development community. And it's a commitment to action, so when you're showing that you are interested in creating positive change and organized change. So moving forward, there's action items as part of the plan, a to-do list that should be on Kate's desk, and she'll be checking those off, as well as the opportunity to measure some of those pieces and things that as you go through that annual review, you can say, okay, what have we done, what's still left to do, what have we done in terms of new development, in terms of jobs created, in terms of property tax revenue, if we bring new development into that, as well as continuing community surveys and trying to keep listening to people here and answering back to, here's what we're hearing, and here's how we're addressing some of these things. So, your role as the council, if you see fit tonight, to approve the plan, and then to represent and promote, so to represent and promote the vision, to be leaders in terms of championing the city, those two corridors, providing a public face that when a developer is looking at it, they know that the city is interested in making something happen. And then also using the plan to evaluate, approve, and support new projects. So when development proposals come forward, there may be some that look different than what's in the plan, based on the guiding principles and the vision that's outlined in the front. Those should be tools, check marks to say, okay, even if this is something a little bit different than what we thought might be coming, does this still help move our community in the direction that we've agreed upon or trying to head? And that can also be something that you can use to utilize when you're evaluating, is this something that we want to put city resources towards, whether that's in the form of a tax increment or business development kinds of pieces, or even in terms of some of the investments in infrastructure, if they're different roads or.
So let me ask you this, Kevin. So the plan gives us a roadmap, but with flexibility.
Correct.
Okay, so we can adjust accordingly to see what kind of movement we get.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I like the word flexibility. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. So the next steps would be the adoption, and then continuing to build on some of the existing momentum that's been built with the stoplight discussion, the Bridge Street extension discussions, some of the marketing that's already begun, and then with the comprehensive plan, building this into some of the money for that, looking at what that means for growth both in this area as well as outside, greater St. Francis. And then to begin implementing based on some of those to-do lists that are in the plan. Once again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to work on this plan. It's been great.
I'll open up for discussion here in a second, but I just want to say to you, I like the plan a lot. I also thank you for the survey that you sent to me through Kate, because I will send that to Sheila Kahupi from the North Area Branch Manager of MnDOT. I'm happy to see a lot of people are thinking the same thing we are as a council. That stoplight on Pedersen is a good thing. I don't know when the road will come through, but I'd like to get the stop sign up as soon as possible. So we're going to use that as a little bit of a push if we can. Anyways, but I like the plan. I like the flexibility of it. I like that it was more size to our community, taking into consideration, of course, as the Met Council's put their 2 cents in, that we came to temper the dream with a little bit of reality, which I like a lot. I think we did a good job all around, and it gives us good direction, but once again, flexibility is nice. so we can adjust to it accordingly, and we can update it as we need. So I'm going to open up for discussion. Jerry, I'll start with you.
No, I don't have anything to add to this plan. I think it's a good plan. I attended a lot of the meetings, so, you know, everything that what I heard people talking about is in the plan, so I think it's a good plan. Joe?
It's a great plan. I think you did a great job with it. I'd like to thank you for that. The one thing that I'll stick to till my dying day is that I think having a setback of residential off of 47 to open it up for business is what I'd like to see. And there was some infill that you had on 47, but other than that, I mean, you know, it's a beautiful plan altogether, and the middle school obviously is a little roadblock there, but you know, we'll see what the future holds. But I think it looks good.
And in instances where that did happen, probably especially on, in that northwest portion, trying to at least orient the houses in such a way that they're not just running on 47, but running more on the road that then connect back. Yeah,
I just, you know, I think of, you know, like 95 in Cambridge, how they have it, where it's a business kind of district right there, is how I would relate R47, because we don't have a lot of stretch of road there, so utilize it.
Well, once we get a developer to actually look at it with a plan, we can adjust accordingly. That's the nice part about it, so I like your thought a lot.
But thank you.
Rob?
I want to thank you for all the hard work you did. I want to thank all the residents that came out to all the meetings and supported this plan. I really like it, and I hope we can get some developers in here and move forward. Thank you.
Rich?
I don't know what else I can say. I was just about to thank everybody, then Rob took that. But no, I think you did a great job. Staff did a great job. You know, we had citizen engagement, but your job's not done yet. We have an opportunity at the end of the month for citizens to participate in the comprehensive plan process. So your job's not done. You're partway there. But I think that this is a great plan. And you know, as you see things where, you know, civic campus downtown, that doesn't mean we're building City Hall next year. So don't take that. This is a bulldozers are coming next spring, and this is what the city's going to look like in 2019 or 2020. You know, I think we all recognize that, you know, a plan is a roadmap. I mean, you got to have a roadmap to get someplace, but we also need to do it in a fiscally responsible manner too. So that's kind of what comes with trying to implement this plan over the next few years. But I think you guys did a great job. So thanks.
And I just add that, you know, at the end of the day, as the term goes on, time-wise, if we get 50% of what we planned here, we'd be doing really well. So I like the idea of it. I also want to commend Joe Coleman and Kate Thunstrom for an event they attended last week to promote our city. I was surprised to hear that some people didn't know where St. Francis is, but they do now. So that's a good plus, and that's an event that Kate came up with. This will be our first attendance to it, but we'll be doing it on an annual basis. So we basically took your advice and Britt's advice last week, and the last meeting rather, and said get out there and promote our city, which we are doing. So, and this really that's what that's about, is promoting our city, giving a direction, a roadmap to get that end result. So I want to thank you guys, and I also want to commend the public for coming out with this. I mean, your input's important. So it's your city, and we serve you, so it's important that you get out there and tell us what you want. So thank you very much. Thank you. So do I have a motion to accept HKGI St. Francis Ford redevelopment plan, October 2017? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to item B, assessing contract.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, in their packet you have two proposals for assessing services, one from Anoka County, one from Eric Skogquist and Mary Wells. As you may know, you probably got an email on Friday adjusting the Eric Skogquist contract. So it has changed since this material has gone out. But with that, I think both proposals have a representative here. I believe Alex Lugenberger is here from Anoka County, and then a representative, possibly Eric Skogquist, is here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Okay. Well, let's start with Eric then.
We need two podiums.
Huh?
I guess I'm the second guy in khakis in the blue game shirt here tonight, so let's not communicate with each other here. So anyway, just to introduce myself, I'm Eric Skoquist. You did get a proposal from myself and from Mary Wells, my cohort, and just kind of wanted to run over a little bit of that with you, give you a little background. So first of all, for all you that don't know, there's kind of three options in Minnesota when we come to assessing. The municipality is in charge of evaluating their own property and presenting it to the county for their taxable parcels. You can either have a county do it, which some counties do, the whole county will do it. I think that's how they do it in Isanti. Or you can basically cut a check to Anoka County, which is what we've currently been doing, and then they have staff that will do that work for you. Option two is what some of the larger cities will have. You know, you get down Coon Rapids and I guess Ridley and Anoka. They've had theirs for a long time where they have employees in-house on the work. And the third option is similar to probably other things you've done here where you have contractors that do the work for you. That's something I've done for 12 years. I started doing that originally as a contract assessor. And that whole time, I've worked with different communities, urban or suburban, rural, kind of all over the state. And as well as in Anoka County, I worked in the city of Coon Rapids for 7 years, as well as Mary Wells worked there as well. And she's also worked in the past with some of the local contract assessor municipalities in the city, or excuse me, in the county. She's worked with Ken Tolzman, who's currently the only other local assessor that's a contract assessor in the county. And he's worked in East Bethel, and she's worked with him there. A few other communities as well. But just kind of in general, to give you a little background, as assessors, we all kind of have the same job. No matter what you do, what proposal you pick, we all value the property, classify the property, do that type of work, and present it at the end of the year. So like I stated, in Anoka County, you kind of have all three different options that currently go on. And we meet, or at least when I was working in Coon Rapids, we met usually monthly, just everybody, make sure everybody's on the same page, we're all doing kind of the same thing. If there's changes that the county wants to see, or if there's discussion about, you know, a new type of property or how it's being handled, we all kind of work together to make sure we're doing things in unison and being equal. So just to get to the nuts and bolts of it here, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's kind of some benefits that come along with going with the contract assessor, especially in a place like St. Francis. You know, the main thing is the cost saving, which is what I alluded to in the previous email. There was no ever intention to value taxable parcels for a fee or anything like that. It's always just been residential vacant and ag vacant and residential, and then there's commercial and apartments. Those are kind of the main thing, and any mobile home properties themselves. Everything else, we don't charge for and we haven't. So maybe that's roughly about 20% or cost savings, or probably about $8,000 for it. Part of the reason for that savings is as contractors, we don't have some of the overhead that the county has. Good example is there's certain times of year we're really busy, and there's certain times of years it's just not that busy. So when it's not that busy, I have my phone on, Mary has her phone, we check emails, we do the things we need to do, but you don't have to pay me to be working 8 hours a day for something that doesn't need to be done. Also, other supplies, my car, things like that. I'm not paying for a car and insurance and things that are going to sit there. I'm using it off hours, that type of thing. So those are just some of the reasons and the ways you can save a little bit of money. And also, we do, like I said, we kind of do the same things that the county does. We're very professional. We do accurate, timely inspections. We leave tags for folks if they're not there, so that they know we were by. They can contact us. We have one number so that when they call, it's either going to be Mary or I answering them. We're very attentive to that. Also, one of the things that we've noticed when Mary and I were working together in Coon Rapids, but also we currently work together on other contracts, that the 8 to 4:30 round doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So as a job, we try to get in as many properties as we can, because you get a better assessment, you do a more accurate job. But it doesn't work for everybody sometimes. So if it doesn't work, we've historically done it. We're okay, we'll pick a day a week, or if there's a time that works, we'll be here till 5:30. Get a few people coming home from work, or maybe before they head out in the morning. Those types of things, so that we can provide that extra level of service to folks and still do a good job for you guys. Also, as far as Board of Appeals and Equalizations, we attend the same ones that the county would have. You have the local, I think you guys have a local board here, don't you? Yeah, and every April you come, have taxpayers come in and, no, that's all done in the county, okay. So that wouldn't change as well. You know, they would have a spot at the county set up where during that time period, folks would come in, talk with us, deal with values, those types of things. So nothing would change on your side as far as that goes. And one thing Mary and I really like to do that I know this is, you know, it's helpful, is we really try to engage the public as much as we can in this not so exciting topic of property assessment and taxation. But as part of that, we try to explain to people on whatever level they come at it from. You know, some people, they're totally new to this, first time home buyer or whatever, and they don't know what's an assessor, what do you do? You know, try to explain to them what we're doing, why we're doing it. Usually have a pretty good success rate, and sometimes you're dealing with people that are very familiar with the topic, or they kind of come all the time as far as local boards, and they're just very attentive. So we try to deal with that, and then on the other levels, you deal with commercial properties that sometimes have tax attorneys or property tax reps. So those are kind of all your spectrum. We're used to dealing with all those folks, and we are going to continue to provide as much, or if not better, service than what you currently have. And kind of the last thing we like to do, as far as St. Francis goes, we would like to, whether it's Pioneer Days or Town Hall or whatever, we like to at least have one of us there sometimes just with the table for assessing. It's not the most exciting, and people sometimes look at you like, why would I want to go talk to those folks? But occasionally they do come over, and then they start talking with you, and they ask, what are values doing? And kind of gives a little conversation for folks, and it's actually been pretty successful when we've done it in other communities too. And then any city newsletters, we usually like to send out if there's a space for it, if it's quarterly or twice a year or whatever. Just send out, hey, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, usually a map of the city that says, hey, this is the quintile, we call it, or this is the section of town we're going to be knocking on doors. So don't be surprised if this happens or you get this notice on the door. Just every time you can touch them a little bit, make sure that they're aware. It just clears things up way more when you get to the door and they understand what's going on. And then usually, what values have done, or tell them about the different property tax refunds, and things like that. Just kind of a little nugget. Just enough that they can read what's going on, but they don't get too bored by it. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now or later after you get the copy or whatever.
No, we'll start now.
Sure.
First of all, I just want to say that the council's thinking on this, we're all for saving money as long as the service that we're saving money on meets or exceeds what we have at a lower cost. We have to meet or exceed what we have, okay? It's not a matter of just saving dollars to come back and haunt us later on with more pricing or additional costs. My question to you is, one of my main concerns is, for instance, if there's an error with assessing, liability issue factor goes with who? Is that with you or is that with us?
There's two options you get. First of all, as contract assessors, we have to have our own general liability insurance. That's something that I always carry, just like any other contractor would have to have. That's going to be more if we're in a house and you fall over and you break a window, or back over a mailbox or something like that. But usually that's not too big of a deal. But that is on us as independent contractors. As far as evaluation goes, it's currently handled the same as it would be handled. So we provide the values to Anoka County. Technically, those are the Anoka County values. So if you're saying that there's an error, clerical error or something, say we added a second story to the house that we shouldn't have been adding, or something like that. That's something that comes back to us personally. We have to correct or fix. That's something that, it's not uncommon, nothing usually that extreme, but those things will happen. So that's something we correct. The city's not on the hook for any money or anything as far as that goes. The other option would be if there is tax court petitions. Say somebody, county market or something, petitions, and they're saying, we're overtaxed or we're overvalued. That's something that will go through the same exact process that it currently goes through. Currently, it would be somebody represented by Anoka County in the assessing department that would deal with that attorney or tax rep or individual owner. And then they work in conjunction with the Anoka County Attorney's Office, who's technically the one in charge of that, that appeal. And those two work together, to come up with something. It happens the same way in local cities as a contractor or as a city staff person. I've done it from that angle in city of Coon Rapids as well. So that again is, it's always the county is technically the one that is dealing with that, but we work in conjunction with the county on those kind of larger.
So bottom line, the city is not liable, you'd be liable.
Correct. As far as anything that could happen, I guess that's why I'm saying there's two liable, I guess you could say. But as far as anything that would happen, it's either going to be us or it's going to be the county. It's not going to be the city as a separate thing. Okay, that doesn't mean I guess somebody could sue you just like anybody else can now, but that's what's happening.
Now, some of the pricing here, I mean, I want to understand here, this packet that we have went out on Thursday, the 12th, okay? And I have an email from you on the 13th. But in the packet, I don't know if this is a clerical error on our end, but everything pretty much as far as the parcels, improved residential agricultural is $22.90 for both the county and yourself. Unimproved residential and agricultural $4.59, same for both. But when it comes down to unimproved commercial, industrial, apartment, utility, and tax exempt is $277 for you and $123 for Anoka County. The difference is $154, but on your email you go to $154. So which is the right number?
The 154 is the correct number. And I tried to explain that in there, but what I had done is I tried to make the proposals as accurate to what you currently have as possible. And what I had modeled this one off was actually a prior contract or joint powers agreement that the county had, might have been 1 or 2 of them ago. So that language is clarified in the amended one I sent you, where the exempt is not part of that. So 154 is currently what the number is. You know, that's saying that could change, but the 154 is the same number we were both using. So on that item 6C of the contract, that's where it states commercial industrial properties shouldn't have exempt for public utility in our version anymore.
Okay. And then, as far as references, what cities are you contracted in now that you do business with?
Currently, I have some work up in Benton County, so Mayhew Lake Township's one up there, and then I do a lot of upstate work. So City of Pipestone is another one, City of Slayton. I work for Nobles County to do the City of Worthington in conjunction with them. That was something I took on based on some issues they had as far as their current staffing. They didn't have people that were licensed to the right level to do the work. So as somebody that had worked in some of the other county seats and other cities around, that's something they approached me to kind of help them shepherd folks through that process.
Are you
I can get you the
are you
full
able
list
to give
of
us a list of that?
Yeah, I could provide that to you as well.
I think
With
that
some
would
of
be
those
good.
contacts.
So in those cities that you mentioned, and we'll give us a list to, have you been there a long time with them, or?
Yeah, like I stated, I started as a contract assessor before I even worked at a staff firm. So I've been doing that for 12 years. And all of those cities, like I said, short of the City of Worthington in Nobles County, that one has only been about 3 years, but the rest of them I've been there for 12 years. And I've always worked with a partner as well. One thing I'd like to mention, I apologize Mary couldn't be here. We had another meeting at the exact same time. So part of the reason having 2 of us, it's useful. But you know, we like to be able to have multiple people, multiple backgrounds to be able to cover kind of anything that comes up. You know, one thing that it doesn't happen often, but sometimes I'm the type I go to a little old lady's house and maybe she's a little concerned or something, and then you can have somebody else that comes at it from a different angle. Just whatever service would be the best for that resident, that's what we like to provide. So if you talk to them, I will get you those numbers and names, and you can call them. And I've been, like I said, for 12 years with another partner.
Now let me ask you this: what drew your attention to our city?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm a lifelong Anoka County resident, so Mary Wells is as well. She lives in East Bethel. I currently live in Anoka. Part of it is, it's like everybody, I like to work in communities that are closer to me. Currently the way that we have it set up is we are kind of seasonal when it comes to the out-of-town stuff. Like I said, there's slow times, in fact, and busier times of the year. Right now, in the fall, this time of year gets to be a little busier when I'm working out of town. But the summertime and a lot of other times it's not so much. So in Anoka County, we have timelines kind of set up where we like to get certain things done, and Alex usually is in charge of that every year, putting that out. Where things are a lot busier in the summer when we're looking at things. And in the fall, it's more checking back building permits or year-end reviews of things that were in the process, that type of thing. So it fits really well to our schedule because it's, in the summer when we're doing a lot of work, there's a lot of free time. And like I said, it's closer to where we live. I'm familiar with the community. I grew up in Alvin and St. Francis. My dad school up here. I mean, it's just a community I'm in and around, so working in a place that you're more familiar with and where you know the area and the people, it's always a lot more fun and interesting.
Okay, and then also, as far as, because there's only two of you, right, in this situation, so would we ever be to a point where you're so busy that you can't get to our needs here in the city?
No, absolutely not. And the reason I'll say that is we have other folks that I've worked with in the past as contract folks that have worked for me out of state. So there's those folks that are able to do more work if I want them to do more work out of state. This is kind of my number one priority, like I said, because it's closer to where I live, I'm familiar, I know the area. And as well, as far as coming to that goes, the amount of parcels that I'm in charge of covering is around 10,000, which, you know, I suppose Alex could speak to this where he likes his staff at, but usually the number per individual, it's usually smaller than that, maybe 7,000 to 8,000 or something. So between myself, Mary, and then another gentleman I have working for me, that's 3 people to cover that amount. So there's, you know, I don't foresee there being any problem, and if there was, for some odd reason, St. Francis would not be the one to give up. I would give up that contract. I would probably give up some stuff that's a little further away, that's a little hard to keep my hands on.
And one last question I have before I turn over to the council here is, this price here, this would be in effect for 5 years?
Correct. Yeah, that would be a locked-in rate for 5 years. The only numbers that would change is if your parcels change. So a vacant goes to a residential improved, or just do a lot splits, or that would, you know, those would increase the value, which I think currently every year there's numbers that do improve. But as far as the per parcel rate, that is locked in for 5 years. Correct.
All right, again, I would request that you give us that, those references so we can check.
Sure.
on that. But this time I'll open up for discussion. Rich?
I don't know if I have any questions. I think references was the biggest question I was going to have. And like the mayor said, you know, everybody likes cost savings, but if it's going to come at a cost of service, I'm not too in favor of that. So I think, and preferences would be a...
And I was going to interject, I'm sorry, when we first sent the proposal back to Commissioner Coleman, is that correct? Back in March, we originally sent that, and we had a couple letters of references down, one from the local assessor that works in the area with Mary, well, not currently, she worked with him until June, and then also from a couple of people that we worked with in the past, so city clerk in Blaine, Kathy, and then also Ed Snellwell, the city manager in Grand Rapids. Those were a few of them. So those were originally provided, and it's been probably 6 months now, but I'll give you those other ones as well, shoot those to you.
Mayor, just to clarify, we wanted references of people he's worked with on a contract basis, right?
Right. Absolutely. Because that's what we would hire if we did this.
Right.
Yeah, because for me, you're looking at 20% cost saving. That doesn't come free. I mean, you have the luxury of knowing what the county charges, so you can stand back and look and see what your business model ought to look like in order to beat them. But, I don't know, that's my biggest fear, and we be entering into this for 5 years. I want to know a little bit more about it before I sign up for it for 5 years.
I agree with that. Anything else, Rich?
That's all.
Okay, Rob?
My only concern is earlier in the year, we had many residents come through and they had different size parcels, and they all went up 20,000. Is that something that's kind of the norm with the assessors, is to just lay out a residential area and just 20,000 for every house that's in this block, or is there an individual resident touch and see and walk around each home?
Well, since, you know, Anoka County is the one that's had those numbers in there for a number of years, what I will speculate, but again, maybe Alex will want to clarify. There's different ways to value land. You know, there's kind of a per lot basis where if there's minor variations, you can just say, well, these lots are all, you know, $50,000 or whatever. There's per front foot lot rates, you know, how much frontage you have, there's square feet, different things like that. So what I would say is if the lots were relatively comparable, and you felt like the market was low in this neighborhood or in a certain area of town, then theoretically, if you're raising the land values, they should all go up proportionally. So if they're the same values or close, they should go up the same amount. There's another way of looking at it where if you have, say, double the size of a lot, but they have the same services, say one has city sewer and water and the other has city sewer and water. You know, theoretically, those lots shouldn't be the same value. So, without knowing the specifics, I guess it's really hard to answer that, but that's something I would definitely, you know, we don't just go and just say we're just gonna raise $20,000 and everything. Part of our job at the end of the quintile when we're reviewing stuff is we have to submit land changes to Anoka County, where we say, okay, we do a step back and we say, what do we think the lots should sell for in these areas? You know, and we try to always peg something off of each other. As appraisers, we're kind of doing mass appraisal, it's called, where we don't want to individually do every one every year, but we say this lot's superior to this lot. So say if it's 5% superior, it should be 5% more. And if a raise in value is 10% that year, they should go up 10%. So theoretically, that more expensive lot should go up just a little bit more than that other lot. But that's, I guess, the 101 version of what we're doing. So, yeah.
Is that? Joe? I think a lot of my questions have been answered, although I guess, given I guess you're trying to sell yourself to us, what is it that you're going to provide us more than what the county can provide us?
Certainly. Well, that's kind of what I tried to touch on a little bit here. But, you know, as local assessors, there's a couple things that I think we provide that's just a benefit for you. First of all, like I said, we kind of provide more of a local touch. It's not going, people don't have to talk to the county or to go to the county for everything. Something we try to come to you. We try to be flexible as far as the hours go for folks. And we try to provide some things that, you know, as people that are dealing with assessing, they might really only deal with maybe the city on something once every few years, if that. So when we're knocking on their door and we're saying we're the assessors for the city of St. Francis, you know, we want to make a pretty good impression on there. And that's why we like to educate folks and spend that little bit of extra time doing that. And not just at your door. Like I said, we do it through, if there's a spot in the newsletter to be able to educate folks, if there's a town hall meeting, if there's a, you know, city celebration, things like that. We like to attend those and have a face there for folks so they can kind of understand what's going on, because it's pretty important to people, but it's something they don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to unless all of a sudden they get a zero added or something like that. So
Or 20,000 added.
or 20,000 to a lot, exactly. So, and those are kind of the things that we just try to have that other level of customer service, because when it comes down to it, when you're dealing with values of the property, you know, the county and locals and everything, we all have pretty good standards we have to apply, and there's not a lot of variation as far as that goes. We just, I guess I try to provide that extra little level of something for folks.
Thank you. Jerry?
I don't think I have any questions. Just a couple comments. You know, I kind of like the idea of our assessor being involved in the city more than they have been in the past. You know, I actually think that's a pretty good plus. I think if somebody's out there and visible, a lot of these questions that we do get or we have gotten early in the year, then they could be answered straight from the assessor's mouth, and it's nice to have that visibility. And I like the fact that you know, both of these folks are pretty local. Anoka and East Bethel really aren't too far away. You know, so if there's a question that they are available. Looking at the cost savings, I like the cost savings. You know, again, I was a little skeptical as far as, well, you know, it's fairly significant. I mean, we're talking probably $7,000 difference over the bids. But, you know, I can understand not having a whole lot of overhead as well. You know, I work for the city of Minneapolis, and there's a lot of overhead there, and there's a lot of way to cut costs. I mean, so I can understand that. I'm sure the county isn't much different than that. So, so far I like what I hear. You know, I think pending references. You know, I think it's a fairly good pitch.
Okay, that's it, Jerry?
That's it.
I want to emphasize that, you know, I believe, I mean, I'm a small businessman myself, so I understand the cost cutting, you know, your overhead is going to be less, so your costs are going to be less. I understand that. My main concern is, along with Rich and I think the other council members, that once again, any service, any move we make has to be a forward move, not a lateral backwards move. I don't want to make a mistake here a little bit over 5 years and end up having any complaint by the city residents on anything we do here. So I want to take the time to think about this one. I want these references in place here so we can make a good decision here. The numbers are attractive, but at the same time, like I said before, the initial comment that I made, when changing with any services we partner with, as long as it meets or exceeds, once again, the service we have at a lower cost, I'm all for that. But it has to meet or exceed. So that I cannot emphasize enough. So at this particular time, I want to thank you for your presentation. I will ask for those requests. I will have Alex come up here. We'll go from there, and then we'll decide on a date to decide this. By the way, when does this have to be decided by?
Just by the end of the year, I believe.
Okay, end of the year. So we have a little time to at least bring this back to the next meeting where we can look at references and get a little more investigative into this.
Sure, thank you very much. And one thing I was just going to add, once I get through those as well, one thing that would be worth checking with is some of the other cities in Anoka County that contract. I said East Bethel is one of them, but there's Columbus, Spring Lake Park, and Centerville.
So we'll be checking them all.
So just, yeah, you can check with them and see what their references are as well. So thank you for the time to present. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it too. Okay, Alex, you're up.
Really got the memo that we're supposed to work. And pants and checker shirt, so.
We'll let you go.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me tonight. I'll kind of clarify, Eric kind of covered a lot of stuff, but I will kind of clarify some of those points as well. Kind of a brief overview, Anoka County has 136,000 parcels in the county. That makes us roughly the fourth largest by parcel count. 20 cities, 1 township. Anoka County currently holds 14 of the 21 contracts on legitimate jurisdictions. 3 of those cities are, like Eric said, city assessed, so they have their own city assessor's offices that are city employees. And then 4 of them are locally assessed. Some of the benefits that I view as from an Anoka County standpoint is we offer full-time access to qualified staff for both city staff and residents. By full-time, I mean our staff currently in our office work flex schedule, 7 to 5:30 for the most part, as long as they're able to adjust their schedule. Your current assessor, the residential assessor that's assigned St. Francis, for example, works 7 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday. In the event there are some, scheduling things that need to take place on a Friday, we have 9 other staff that are able to fill the needs of your residents. So it's never that there's a staff member that's out sick that can't handle the city, any city questions or anything like that. We always have the staff available there to meet your needs, regardless of the situation. I believe we have a higher level of equalization and economies of scale due to having this large amount of contracts that we do have. All the staff that we have work within Anoka County, and they don't have any other contracts elsewhere at this point in time, I guess. But our staff are solely here to serve the residents of Anoka County. They receive the training at Anoka County, and they're held to Anoka County standards. So that all of our staff are trained, licensed according to Minnesota Board of State Board of Assessors. So you know that you're always going to have a trained staff working within your jurisdiction, which sometimes might not be the case given current parcel counts and where those staff are. We also have increased accountability and oversight. If you have an issue, this has been an issue in the past, I should say, with some of the different locally assessed jurisdictions. If there's an issue with one of our staff members, where you're unhappy or a resident is unhappy, they have the residential supervisor, myself, county administrator, or county commissioners to get a hold of. And you know that issue is going to get resolved quickly. That's not always the case. Sometimes with some of these local assessment offices that sometimes the issues either at that point, it's really you guys are accepting the liability as their, you hold the contract, so your citizens are going to hold you accountable for that service, at the level of service that they're getting. At the end of the day, the county assessor's office still has general oversight of that assessment, so any assessment-related issues we can deal with. But when it comes to professionalism, how they're going to conduct themselves, that's really the local assessor as well as the city making the decision there. We also have tax court. We handle all the tax court in-house for the most part. So that being said, any outside tax court professional services that we need to defend those tax court cases, we handle outside. A good example that I like to use, St. Francis doesn't have anything quite like this, but Northtown and Blaine. Blaine is one of our current contracts. Because Northtown Mall is obviously a very large complex property value. So we're going outside, we hire an outside expert. So the county is funding a $70,000 appraisal outside. We're not billing back to the city for those services. Depending on the complexity of the project, obviously, the local assessor is more capable of handling that. But really depends on the level of complexity of that property, and whether or not that taxpayer wants to go to court. If they want to go to court, that's something you guys would have to discuss, or how it would be laid out in the contract. But no, the county has never billed back for any of those tax court services. We also have a proven track record of high quality assessments that have improved over time. At the end of the day, it's still our office that has to do general oversight as far as assessment services, assessment quality of assessment, and measures of success there. So we really do our best in that situation to move the county forward in a good fashion. Like I said earlier, who's responsible at the end of the day? The county assessor is responsible for general oversight of the assessment. That being said, when you asked about liability earlier, the city does have a stake in that at some point in time. State statute requires that local assessors' books, back when they used to be books, not computers, are due to the county assessor's office by December 1st of each year. That's when our office has the ability to review any assessment work done by local assessors. If we find any deficiencies within that assessment with regard to how the county expects the work to be completed, we then have the ability to notify the jurisdiction, which we would notify the city as well as the local assessor, since you being the employee to the employing body, we would notify you. If those deficiencies aren't fixed or corrected within 30 days, the county then has the ability to bill back the jurisdiction for any cost that would cost to fix those deficiencies. So if you want, I can get you the statutes, the statute numbers and stuff for that if you'd like to review it.
So that would be the same for Eric as his company as well as yours?
The county assessing office is, we would hold our staff to the same level of expectations, so to speak. But if we find those deficiencies in a local assessment office, we can't have our staff. Currently, you guys are paying for a staff member of ours. We couldn't use one of the staff members being paid for our contract to fix a local assessment. So it's not how the funds would be appropriated. So the state statute has given us the ability to bill back the jurisdiction to fix any of those deficiencies, whether that be.
So that means the liability comes back to us, if I'm clearing you right?
Yes, if they wouldn't fix the deficiencies within 30 days. Obviously, they have 30 days to fix any deficiencies, so if those deficiencies were fixed within 30 days.
So give me an example of fixing the deficiency.
Say, for example, the county requires all for a quintile inspection. Say, then we do have, this is one area where I kind of get to this in a little bit. We're planning on laying out our expectations as far as what meets, an appeal, and what is an appropriate method of appeal, or how do you handle an appeal situation? How do you go about your quintile situation? How do you go about new construction and permit season? What is appropriate for sales verification purposes? Say they don't meet the criteria necessary for a quintile inspection, and upon review, we notice they've missed, their land values are out of whack, they've missed, the style of the home, the style of 15 homes is clearly incorrect, yet they were there, in June 15th to June 30th at these homes. We would then put it on a list and say, okay, based on the data we have, these properties here are deficient. They don't have the appropriate style type for our.
So you're saying if the deficiency stems from our community development or building officials, that's where it would be on our end, or how?
It would be for the local assessment office. So they're required to review every property once every 5 years. So say they're in a neighborhood of townhomes, for example, that are all single story. Say they have a couple of them on as bi-levels, they have the land values out of whack in some of those areas, or egregiously out of whack in some of those areas, yet they said they were there that year. We would look at that and say, or maybe they didn't take the pictures that were there, maybe they didn't, maybe there's nothing that proves that they were actually at the record, or they didn't put their name on the record that said that they were actually there. We would then notify you and just the.
But I'm just trying to understand this. Those people that are doing this, that's your people doing it, right?
No,
You're saying if we go outside the county.
If we go outside the county.
Yes, if you go outside the county and they weren't meeting county expectations there, or they had large deficiencies there, they didn't fix it within 30 days, or they didn't disagree, they disagreed and it didn't fall that direction, it needed to be.
So a contract service is what you're saying. So basically what you're saying is if you do it under your auspices, then you're covering it.
Yes.
There's no.
And we're going to be holding our staff at the same level of scrutiny as well. So it's not like we're going to be picking on the local assessing office.
Well, because I'm trying to understand, because Eric said earlier about liabilities, I mentioned, as I brought up, so you're telling me if we contracted out and a mistake was made, that could fall back to us?
Potentially. If the mistake wasn't fixed within 30 days. Upon notification.
And with you, that doesn't happen? Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Okay. Go ahead, proceed.
Okay, thank you. Some of the questions that regardless of your guys' decision that I would ask of any local assessing office, and you actually asked a lot of those questions. Eric had mentioned earlier how many parcels that he currently had. Typically, it makes a difference whether you're in a really urban area or a rural area as to how many parcels you can get to in a given year. I know our staff, for example, can get anywhere between 1,300 and 1,700 parcels a year as part of the point in time. Obviously, if you're in Columbia Heights and the lots are 70 feet wide, it's easy to get that 1,700 or 1,800 parcel count. Very easy. It's a different story when you're in St. Francis and you're hopping in your car every time you go to each house, walking around. That's generally where you see the 1,400 parcels a year. Because even vacant land, you're going to have to spend time on reviewing to make sure that it's equalized among other vacant land parcels. Along with that is the distance traveled between jurisdictions. Our staff are only working in another county. So if that one staff person is only working in the city of Andover, for example, it's very easy to get 1,800 parcels. It's a different story if they have to get 1,800 parcels in St. Francis, Hamlin, Linwood, and Sutherland. It's a different story when you have to get that same number of parcel count. So it's the level of service question there. And those are the questions I would be asking of any jurisdiction that does switch. So I'll be asking the question, how do you intend to meet these expectations? So you covered most of those questions. As far as a level of service, there's different things that you guys haven't necessarily been accustomed to. I'm a different county assessor than you've had in the past. I operate very differently, which I'm sure Joe can tell you there too. We're more than willing to come out and be members of your community. I'm here tonight. I'm here. I've been to a lot of different city council meetings. By all means, if you guys, we are we're here to serve your citizens. So if you have any questions, we have no problem. After hours, 6, 7 o'clock, showing up and answering any questions that your residents have. So that's definitely not out of the question as far as the county assessment contract is concerned. Do you guys have any questions regarding?
I want to open this up. I'll start with Rob. Do you have any questions?
My question is just, you probably heard while earlier in the year, we had residents come in and speak with you about a flat 20,000 for some parcels that were in different sizes, had different things on each parcel, but they went up $20,000, like to the penny. And that's what I don't want to see, and I don't know if we're getting that level of hometown feel from an assessor by going with a larger company from Anoka County.
Well, that would happen regardless of what your contract style looks like. Like Eric had alluded to, there's different methods of valuing property. At the end of the day, all those value changes and when that work takes place, all those come through the county. So even if you go with a local assessment option, they're going to send those land changes through the county, and they still have to be approved at the county level. So even if they put that, there are some land changes throughout the year that we turn around. Even our staff might turn something into us and say, that doesn't look right. In this particular case, it really depends on the type of situation. If those parcels had been under-assessed in prior years, if we looked at it and said, we were way off on these for the last 5 years, theoretically they were under-assessed for many years and they were getting that benefit of the county. So it really depends on individual, maybe we didn't have any sales of those types of properties. A good example, is say it's 5-acre lots or 10-acre lots, and we didn't have many sales to go on. Maybe we moved the values up slightly in the year, just because we knew in general the market was going up. But say one year we had 8 or 9 sales of 5-acre parcels or 10-acre parcels. That indicated that we were way low on those values. Each year those properties get reassessed, and each year we have to be within a certain, the 90 and 105% as far as the median sale ratio goes. So we have certain guidelines there. So if those sales indicated that the values need to go up, we did that. I would assume in this particular case that the value of the land types were somewhat similar, or they were in the same neighborhood code, which would be a geographic, as far as the whole market's going to be those properties. But that's typically how a change of that nature would take place. It would be very concerning if it was 20,000, 20,000 here, 2,000 here, 1,000 here, and they were all the same type of property. Now, that would not be massive appraisal at that point in time. And that's what assessment really, at the end of the day, is massive appraisal.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my question kind of is, piggybacking on what Rob said, so, and then this is kind of a question for Rob, is you're feeling that so far that we kind of got, it was almost just, pardon the term, but kind of half-assed, where it's like, well, these are over here, they're going up this much, and that's it, like it's, and I'm not calling you lazy, but is that kind of the feel that you're getting? Is that
That's kind of the feel that I got from the residents earlier in the year, was, if you had one, and I don't know what the size of those parcels were, but they were clearly upset that they weren't similar at all. And they both went up $20,000 to the penny. So that's where you get behind, you cut and paste on these 12 properties, and boom, they all went up 20 grand. I don't know if we got the level of expectations, at least in this last year, by those residents coming in and making their complaints known.
Well, like I said, that happens every year, that you're going to have residents. It could be that certain property types went up similar amounts. That very well could be the case. But I can assure you, it's not the lack of work or laziness of work. We do a large amount of high quality work in Anoka County. It's not that any one of our jurisdictions are getting left behind in the dust. It was my previous position at Anoka County, and it's something I'm still very much a part of right now. So it's definitely a high quality assessment, and the residents are getting
quality service?
a lot less than quality service. Exactly.
And then, so you're with the county,
Yes.
but you're a separate department from the county, given we contract with you? Or how does, explain that to me, how that works, where, because you're saying, well, we go through this and we're with the county, and how is that, separate the two for me, or explain to me how they're two in one type of
Not
thing?
concerned with that. Like Eric had kind of alluded to, there's different methods. Certain counties are what is called a full county system. So the county board has made the decision that the county assessor's office does every city. There's no option to go out and hire a local assessor. Ramsey County is a great example of that. Ramsey County only has Ramsey County. There's no local assessors, there's no city assessors. Ramsey County does everything. There are some counties that operate similar to us, where they have some county contracts, similar to like what the sheriff's office might do. Sometimes we contract with them to do the police services in those areas. They're still county staff, county employees, but it's a service that the county is providing. So they have the ability to bill back for those services. Statute requires that we only bill back for the cost that is taking us to complete their assessment. So there are some things that we don't bill for. My position, for example, is statutorily required. So even if we had 0 contracts, my position was doing statutorily required. So those types of positions we're not doing. So the county still has roughly half of our budget is still county funded. The other half is just to support the contracts that we currently have. And then there are some counties that actually have very little county contracts, and they operate mostly with these local assessors. So it really runs the gamut there as to what you end up with.
Okay.
And it's really all a decision of what the county board wants, how they want to operate their business. So we are county staff, we're all county employees. It's just you would contract with us for services, much like the sheriff, like a city would with the sheriff's department.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess what type of relationships, you said that you had 3 or 4 jurisdictions that they had local assessors?
We have 3 cities that have their own city assessor offices, and we have 4 jurisdictions that currently
Contract also. Okay, and what's your relationship with them? I mean,
Like Eric said, we meet on a monthly, we try to do it on a monthly basis, obviously every month. It doesn't make sense to have meetings for the sake of meetings. So in the busy times of years, we don't want to have meetings to waste people's time. sense to have those meetings. Usually it's been, every 2 months or so now. We get together to try and make sure we're all on the same page as far as value of property is the same, so that everyone is treated equitably. Does that answer your question?
And it does. You know, I think the county's done a fine job, especially since, you know, we went through the recession, and it's always difficult to appraise then because appraisals are on not distressed properties, and everybody's getting foreclosed on. And you know, I find myself, I mean, I looked at the appraisal of my house, I'm like, hell, if I could sell it like this, I'm out of here. And because the market value is different than the assessed value. But I actually kind of like the idea of maybe having two different eyes look at it, maybe a local assessor, because Anoka County looks at them anyway. And that way we kind of get two sets of eyes looking at this property, make sure it's valued properly or assessed properly, versus, I don't know if, how scrutinized is your department? I mean,
I can tell you, I can share this bit of, you know, I ran the number, you know, Anoka County, in the past, we have not billed back the jurisdictions. Whether, you know, I'm not going to place blame there or anything, but it's, you know, it's my intention that it's not fair to our current contracts, that, you know, we are fixing any deficiencies in the assessment without billing back, because it's not fair to those.
and I agree, you shouldn't. I mean,
so, you know, so when I have ran the numbers, and when I ran the numbers two years ago, it was something like 12% of the parcel count was locally assessed. Yet that was accounting, that those contracts were accounting for roughly 20% of the corrections that we were making. All things being equal, you would expect to see roughly 12% of the corrections being made at that point in time. So it really, and obviously that's you know, different individuals and things like that. But that was what we were facing at that point in time. So we were looking at a large burden on our end, fixing some of these, you know, some of these issues. Yet we didn't really have the staff or anything like that to fix them properly. So,
okay.
so that's kind of where I'm at, and that's where the county board is kind of sitting as far as, you know, we want to make sure that we're treating all our current contracts the way they need to be.
And I would agree. I mean, that's prudent. You know, I wouldn't want to have our staff subsidize somebody else. You know, so no, that's prudent.
Okay. Rich?
I think you folks asked all the questions I could. This is kind of a nitpicky one, but when I look at the proposed contract in section V, the item C, the cost for the approved and unapproved parcel of commercial industrial, when you write it out, it says $80 and 11/100, then it says in parentheses, $80. Granted, it's only 11 cents on 123 properties. It's not going to make or break the deal, but we might want to fix that if we go this route. And maybe, yeah, I guess I don't know if I want to ask that question. That was the only thing I had. I think I'm familiar with what the county does. It came in a few months ago and gave us a little education. I don't know if I have any other things that need to be clarified.
All right, well, you know, in looking at both this, I mean, are we comparing apples to apples between contract to county, or is it apples to oranges? And also, you know, there is a discrepancy in price. So is that basically, in your opinion, because of lesser overhead versus your overhead? I mean, because as we look at it, we see the numbers, okay, and we see the difference in the numbers. And I'm trying to say to myself, what are we getting for the savings? Are we getting better service, or are we just saving something and then having some issues later on that fall back on it? So again, are we comparing between Anoka County and a contract service? Is that really apples to apples? When it seems like to me, from what I've heard, is it may be in contract, but it still comes back to you guys. At the end of the day, it still has to go through you. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
I can't speak to, you know, what the level, you know, how the pricing and stuff is different on their end. I can tell you what we bill for, and that's all it's going to, that, you know, we probably do have more overhead, more cars, more, you know, that type of thing. From a service standpoint, obviously it's my opinion that, you know, we're going to provide a better service to your staff. But at the end of the day, you are right. You know, the county assessor's office is responsible for general oversight, and we are going to do our best, you know, to treat every citizen the same, right?
But even a contract company still has to end up, still has to give your stamp of approval on numbers. Am I right on that, or they just can't go in and say, that's the way it is, and no matter what county says, that's not the way it's gonna be, right?
No, correct.
You still have to go through you, so the end result still goes around to you.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, please.
Have you ever had an instance that a local assessor has assessed something and you've disagreed with it? And then, I'm assuming there's an appeals process and they would say, well, here's why I assessed it like that, and has the county ever backed down? Because to me, it kind of seems counterintuitive that the county's going to slap its own wrist.
Right.
You know? And that's the only thing that I kind of, I mean, how often did you guys audit yourself, and
Like
how
I
do we
said-
know that it's actually being done?
Like I said, our audits that, like I said, we're hoping to move forward.
Yep.
Different, and lay out those expectations and audit everyone exactly the same.
Okay.
I want it, I would not want to start notifying cities and going that route, without making sure everyone is treated the same. I have high expectations for my staff, and I expect them to meet those expectations. As far as disagreements, one that I know of was a particular tax court petition. All those settlements still have to go through the county assessor's office to ensure equalization. So, you might end up with, say county market appeals their value, and you guys are a locally assessed jurisdiction. Say they're really, stubborn and they want to go to tax court on a really low value. In the event someone said, you know what, we're just going to lower the value to kind of get it out of our hands, it still has to come across our board to make sure that it's going to be equalized with other similar properties within the area, within the county. Because we wouldn't want that value getting lowered to pennies on the dollar compared to something in now land or something. It wouldn't be equitable to do that. That's why those things have to come through. We did have a particular tax court case 2 years ago or 3 years ago where we had a settlement come in. It was artificially low, and so much so that we did say we did not approve the tax court settlement. The county took over that tax court petition. We then renegotiated with their counsel and then settled for a higher number at that time.
It sounds like the county's already got the numbers that it wants to begin with, which throws me out. Like, how do you get those numbers if you're not the assessor?
Well, so they have to use the same, as far as tax court goes, they have to submit income and expense documents. They have to file, they have to serve the county assessor's office regardless when they file that tax court petition. So in those particular cases, they serve our county office. We're required to have a tax court file for that particular petition. We wouldn't want, I'm not going to approve something that I can't verify is accurate. So just blindly signing a number that comes in is not going to happen.
Right.
If I'm putting my name on it, I'm going to make sure that it's accurate. And when I went through and redid those income and expense numbers and compared to what was actually the market, they weren't even close. It was half of what we were coming in at with it. And then when we asked the question, we really didn't get any valid answers back.
Okay.
And that's why when we pushed back, the opposing counsel was willing to agree to a much higher number at that point in time. So I mean, it has happened in those particular cases. But like I said, in those cases with tax court, we didn't bill back or anything like that in jurisdiction. It's just, we wanted to make sure that things were equalized around the county, that we wouldn't want to treat the other mobile park owners any different than this particular individual. So they should all be valued similarly.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this then. So if, let's say we contract out, okay, example, and the contract assessor comes up with a number, okay? That number, after all the assessments they've done, all the properties, it goes back to the county, right? So the county has to sign off on that, right? You have to look at those, you're looking at those numbers that he's doing on a contract level, right? So until, no matter what he comes in at, it still has to be approved by county, the board, or commissioners, or whatever?
Yeah, well, they have, it's not the county board, it would be the county assessor's office. They would go out and entitle their data collection type of stuff, making sure the property record is accurate. They've got 2 stories, they've got 2 bathrooms, they've got 1,500 square feet. We would review that type of data. That type of data gets fed into the CAM system. That's the mass appraisal system. It would be infeasible to value 85,000 residential homes a year. That's why it is mass appraisal. Those numbers that they arrive at, and those value changes that they were coming for land and things like that, a lot of the land changes are at the local level, local assessment level. Then from a mass perspective, we do our best to look at it. Someone looking to buy a home is not going to specifically look in the city of St. Francis. They might look in Oak Grove, they might look in Mount, they might look in Bethel, they might look in, Oak Grove or Allen. So that's a market region, which might not just be one local assessor, it's going to be many. So from a county perspective, we run that sales ratio analysis on many different types of properties. We run it on single family, by style, by size, by quality grade, by city, by neighborhood, which would be more of a geographic neighborhood. Say in the city of St. Francis, you have the Ponds Golf Course. Well, that sits in two different cities. So we would look at maybe the Ponds Golf Course to make sure that the values are similar in those areas. It's that type of analysis that gets at the county level regardless.
Right, but I'm just saying to you, if a contracted out service comes in with an assessed number, it still has to go through approval procedures through the county to get to the end result.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, okay.
And that's why it's December 1st is when those deadlines are, because our assessment really isn't finished. The assessment date is January 2nd of each year. Our assessment really isn't fully completed and values, determined until February, or, end of January.
And I want to bring up, because I had those calls from those residents and business people about the $20,000 too, and I've called you about it too. So I mean, and I know you told me that they were open, and I gave them information as you gave it to me and your numbers and that for them to call you. Whether they did, I don't know, but I mean, I know that some people get not fear, but just get lazy, or not lazy, but so much thinking it's a dead end situation, so why even attempt it, type of thing like that. I hope either contractor or whatever that attitude is not there, because if you have to push somebody, or at least help them, nurture them to get that system, because like I say, a lot of people get frustrated with government right away, just the word government. So you have to help them out along that stretch to get there. So I want to thank you, Alex, but at this time, I think the way to do it, because we have until December, you're saying?
Yeah, we at least have 30 days.
Okay,
I would
so
say that.
my suggestion would be to have a motion to table this to our next meeting, which I believe is what, November something, let me look at the calendar.
Well, Mr. Mayor, how about we make a motion to have staff collect references
We're going to do that, absolutely.
and have, perhaps Darcy or Joe go over the references and make some calls.
Yeah,
And
that's what I want to do, that's what I wanted to lay.
and then bring forth a recommendation to the next.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Okay,
exactly,
perfect.
So you're wording it properly. Okay. That's what I think we're going to do here, because I want to be fair to Eric and his people, but we need to look at the references. We already know yours, so, but we need to look at your references to be, I want to be fair on this. I don't want to be one-sided, but at the end of the day, our whole decision-making process is what benefits the majority of our residents first, last, and always. So let's do that. Can I have a motion to table this until the November 6th, I believe it is?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have two, motion and a second. Barring any further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you both.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Rich has got to leave here at 7:30, so I'm just going to push up a little bit here. I want to talk about this special work session that we have coming up here. It's about the numbers to look at the potential or possibility of police coverage for Oak Grove. Their contract is coming due here, so I don't know if they're interested or whatever, but we thought we'd have a work session with the chief in that and look at the numbers. We owe it to look at it in a due diligent form. So I would like to see about a work session here and see why Rich is here, if we can come to a time here before he leaves. So today is the 16th, of course, so Rich, give us an idea of your schedule.
What are you trying to do between now and November 6th?
It would be great if we could, yes. I'd like that.
Well, I guess next week, I believe I am in town, and I don't see, I don't know, next Monday or Tuesday seems to work okay for me.
Okay.
And we have the comp plan meeting next week, next Thursday, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's Thursday, and then I got something on the 23rd, and I got something on the 25th in the afternoon, but I'm free at night, so, okay. So the 24th, how does that look?
I don't have my work schedule
Okay.
with me. It's posted at work. And I don't have it on
I'd
my
prefer the
calendar.
23rd. I got conferences for the kids in school on the 24th.
Okay. Rob?
23rd works for me. Either day works for me.
That works for you, Rich, the 23rd?
Okay, I'll have that for the 23rd as a group health meeting, right? In the morning, it's not free in the afternoon, or at evening anyways. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Secretary. All right, is the 23rd okay? And Jerry, you can get back to us on that, but Rich, you're okay with the 23rd? Rob? And Joe, right?
23rd.
So that would be at 5:30, we'll do a work session at City Hall?
5:30 at City Hall, yeah.
Okay, 5:30 at City Hall, so let's do that. Let's go 10, 23, 5:30 PM at City Hall. Chief, will that work for you then? That works. Okay, super, we'll take care of that. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. I know, Rich, when you have to go, you go. I want to thank you. But,
Get this ordinance done.
yeah, let's do this. Ordinance 234, second series stormwater ordinance amendment, chapter 10, section 93, second reading. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As Mayor stated, this is the second reading of this ordinance. The changes are required to comply with the MS4 permit that was issued recently to the city of St. Francis by the MPCA. The major changes, I guess, to the ordinance are in regards to infiltration, basically going from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and also outlines when you cannot infiltrate. Other than that, the other changes are fairly minor, and as Mr. Skordahl said at the last meeting, this has nothing to do with the stormwater utility fee. This is just for the MS4 permit. With that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Okay, Rich, I'll start with you.
Nope, I don't have any questions. I agree with what we're up to. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, Rob?
Same.
Joe?
Same.
Great.
No, I
That's
got
what I
nothing.
think too. I think we pretty much discussed it already. So on that, I will, well, I know a roll call, but I need a motion to accept the ordinance 234, second series stormwater ordinance amendment, chapter 10, section 93, second reading. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Mr. Mel makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rich, make sure. Mr. Skordahl makes a second. Barring any further discussion, we'll do an order or roll call, right? For an ordinance, all right.
Feldman,
Aye.
Bauer,
Aye.
Skordahl,
Aye.
Debate,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on to resolution 2017-34, authorizing summary publication of ordinance 234, second series. Do we need a discussion on this, or?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 2017-34, authorizing summary publication of ordinance 234, second series.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Mr. Ewald makes a second. For any further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now on to the utility rate study discussion. Let's see. Okay, let's go down to this. Okay. Joe, do you want to start with this, or I will, or whatever?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. Darcy and myself, our finance director, and myself, along with Joe Coleman, our city administrator, we have talked about doing a rate study here, which was done before the wastewater treatment facility was done, but not in a level that is, I feel, was fully done properly to get us to where we are. For instance, the rate tiers, and this is one of the question marks we have here, the rate tiers, the first rate tier is for 14,999 gallons of usage. The second one is for 29,999 gallons of usage. The third one is 49,999 gallons of usage, and the fourth one is over 50,000. I'm hoping that through a rate study here, and we've checked with Eilers, our finance people, along with Abdu, our accounting people, we've had figures of 16,000 and 12,000, and this will take about 3 months to do, so the lower number, and I believe Abdu is much more qualified to do this versus our finance people, because they're more into the finance end of bonds and GOs and GO general obligation bonds type of thing like this. These people do our audits on a yearly basis, so I believe they're better situated to handle this type of study here. But what I'm hoping to do with this study is separate these tiers or break them down a little bit better so that low-income people or fixed-income people, I'll put it like that, fixed-income people, as the ladies that were here at one time through one of our meetings here, complained about the water rates I know everybody else is along with me and the council itself, but I'm hoping that through this study here, we'll be able to separate or break down these rates a little bit better so that the $14,999 minimum might become $4,999 minimum. I don't know yet, I can't promise you anything like that, but that's our goal here, is to look at it in a broader, thorough picture so that we can start seeing if these rates can be adjusted. Is one way we're doing this amongst other things we're doing, but this is one way we're going to start doing it. So I believe that this is a good thing to do. I know the dollar amounts are there, but it will come out of our water and sewer. But also, and it is a $4,000 difference, but like I say, I think they're more qualified to do this type of study. I know Chris feels the same thing that Joe does too, versus our finance people. So I don't feel that Northland at the time did a thorough study here. I know they did the study for free, which I question that anyways when I've got two offers here for $12,000, $16,000. So what kind of study did we get for free is what I'm questioning when two other legitimate companies are $12,000 and $16,000. I mean, that's a question I have. So at this particular time, I'll open up discussion on the council here, but our intent here is to do a thorough study to see where these tiers fall in and where we can do to start giving some relief about rates here in total. This is something that's been on our mind for quite a long time. As I say, we're working on other things too. I know it doesn't move as fast as the public would like, but we are trying. We really are trying. So on that, I'm going to open up for discussion. I will start with Joe.
I'm all for it. I think if we can look into it and see where we're at and see where we can go with it, it's definitely providing a service for the people.
Jerry?
Mr. Mayor, I agree with Joe. You know, it's something I'm for. I don't know if there's any way we can use maybe a portion of the old rates, you know, the old rate study rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. But then again, I want to make sure that we start with good data as well, because garbage in, garbage out. So, but I don't know if the city's changed that much since the old, you know, study. Perhaps they could use a portion of it, maybe cut the cost down. If it's
I don't know about that, but
applicable,
what I do
don't
know is, like I stated before, that Northland did it for nothing, and I just question when I had two numbers from reputable people saying this. But also I want to tell you is that this new study can be used down the road for updating as time goes on here. So we need to get a good base, a good foundation to work off, something we can count on, and then we can go from there. And I think this is important. We owe it to the residents to do a thorough study to know that even if these numbers are legitimate? Are they really something we should be at, or should we give a break at cut that $14.99 in half or whatever? I mean, where we can give a rate, we ran on that, we promised we would do that, and we should do that, and I think that's a good thing here. So I understand where you're coming from, but Abdul has been a good accounting firm for us. They've done some great audits for us, and I think they're the most qualified people to do just that. So I hope that answers your question.
Just, what if it's like, I know we've done a lot of speed studies, and sometimes it's come back that our speed limit should be raised. What if the results come back saying our water rates need to be raised?
Well, I'll tell you what I promised when I campaigned. No rates will go up. They'll only go down one direction. So on that particular case, if that happens, well, we'll pay for a study that tells us that we're too low.
Okay.
But in that case, we're not going to go up. So I ran on that, I believe in that, and I'm not going to run any other ways.
Okay, and I just wanted to ask that
You got my
question
word
because
on
there's,
that.
you know, there's three things that could happen. They could stay the same, go up, or go down. So.
Right, well, there's always that risk you take,
You
but at
know,
the same
yep.
time, we owe it to do a thorough job. Due diligence and plan preparation is a good thing for a city to do, and I think we're on that right step, so we should continue that. Rob, I'll give it to you.
I looked at the proposal and the company to do it, and I've worked with them before. I think it's a good thing. It's a little spendy, but I think it's something that we got to get done for our residents. And I'm looking forward to lowering the rates.
Rich, before you go.
You know, once again, I don't have anything new to add. I do, you know, when you do this, you may find out that some tiers aren't being charged enough, because I like the way this was worded. I can't remember. Oh, see if we are covering the costs of running the water and sewer.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then I guess the council will have to decide if they're gonna, if the study does go the other direction. You can choose to ignore it.
Yeah, I know we can't do that, but at the same time, we need to find out the information to make that decision. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the price tag's kind of high, but if you divide the 12,000 by the number of hookups, we're charging people, what, about $5 to go off and go do this study, give or take $5 or $6. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's time right now with the wastewater treatment facility coming online in April and then finalized out in the end of November. It's time to make sure that we know what we're doing here with the numbers. And so, who best to have do it is, really, to be honest with you, before I would have had Northland do it at the beginning of finance company, I'd give it to accounting. They're the ones, they know the numbers. They crunch the numbers on a regular annual basis with us. So this is a good, this will give us a good base to work off of, and then we can make those decisions. But any decisions we make, we'll have to, we have to make them informed, and we're not informed enough to make the full decision here. So that's why I'm for this. So on that, I'd like to get a motion to accept this utility rate study. Can I do that? Is that how I should do it?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Barrow makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barrow makes that second. Barring any further discussion, all in favor of saying aye to the utility rate study being done?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Rich, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good trip, safe trip. Thank you. Okay, moving on to meeting open to the public. Do we have anybody at the second time? No. Okay, all right. Okay. So Public Works monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your packets tonight for your review is our monthly report for the streets, parks, and water and sewer departments. Just some interesting things that I'd like to point out. If you look at our water treatment plant report, you'll see that our average daily flow continues to go down, and that's going to come down as people stop watering their lawns and turn their irrigations off for the winter. We'll get down to that average. About 400,000 gallons a day will typically be our average for the winter time. If you look at our wastewater, the daily lab, just for process control testing, we're running up to 80 tests a month. This is not including our collection of our samples for our certified reporting. These are our process control tests that we take on our own, and just to make sure that our bugs are doing what they need to do, that they're happy. We're looking at our return activated sludge and our waste activated sludge. We're looking at settlement of the sludge, those type of things. So there's quite a few tests involved with the wastewater treatment plant on a daily basis. On the streets and parks monthly report, you'll also see our stormwater work, number of catch basins cleaning. That's going to continue to tick up here until all the leaves are off the trees and we see freeze up. We do keep a close eye on making sure that those catch basins stay open. Better prepares us for spring, so that we don't see any flooding due to flood catch basins. With that, I'll answer any questions.
One question I have here, Paul, is, and I know you do it on some items here, but it shows here the quantity in that on the wastewater flows, okay? But can we get something that, breaking it down, like I see your limit of 30 and a limit of 85%, limit of 50, and all that. I guess what I'm saying is some of these numbers I don't have anything to compare it to know if they're right, if they're good numbers or bad numbers. So is that all the numbers I need to compare those 2, 4, 6 items? Is that all I need to know to compare to, or are there influent TSS and total fluent? I don't know what the 9.13 is, so I don't have anything to compare it to. So does that mean anything to me, or how can I?
So the limit on the left-hand side is what's required by our permit.
Okay.
If you look at our influent and effluent, that's your comparison of what's happening, how much treatment is happening. So influent TSS and effluent TSS, which is total suspended solids. We're taking our raw influent of 180 milligrams per liter, and we're bringing it down to 2.7 milligrams per liter.
Okay.
Our influent phosphorus is another one. We have a limit of 1. Right now, our influent phosphorus comes in at 5 milligrams per liter, and we're able to bring it down to less or close to a half a part, which is 0.54 milligrams per liter. So you're seeing some exceptional treatment that's happening at that facility.
I'd say so. Okay. So those are the numbers that you put there as tasks, that those are the ones we should go by as far as limits and comparing to the other parts?
Right, right. Those limits are the ones that are in our MPCA.
Because that tells me the plant's running much better than we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. Okay, any questions, Jerry? Do you have any?
Nope, I have none.
Joe?
Nothing.
Rich? I mean, Rob, I'm sorry.
Nope.
I'm 67, I can screw up with that. All right.
Hold on, I got one thing for,
What's that?
and we brought this up before about maybe opening up the treatment center for
Tours?
drops from local sewer companies.
Oh, yeah, for the septic, you're talking?
So what I would like to see is not something every month, you know, or quarterly, but once we go through the winter, now we have the fall that we had our plant up and running, get a good basis on, yes, our plant's working, and what percentage is it working, you know, for the city. If it's running at 15%, but it's running great, then we have 75% that we can drop some more stuff in. And we can open up that revenue stream for those local businesses to dump at our facility versus another facility. So that's something I kind of want to see some numbers for over maybe the next year on the treatment center. That's all I have.
Is that possible? I mean, because then you'll have a year track record to at least look at it, you know, I mean, you know, it's kind of like, remember we mentioned about the graphs that Connexa sends out and then our water rates, I mean, showing what you did a year ago, this month or whatever, as water usage and that, because you need a track record. I know one of your concerns is that we don't want to start doing that and then jeopardize our capacity. And I totally agree with that, but I like, I mean, first of all, I want to commend you for having that installed there. But second of all, I also like your holding, you know, being concerned that we affect our capacity, because first of all, we always have to maintain that. So,
Mayor, council member, first concern right off the bat is making sure that we do have the right data for a length of time, which I would like to see in a year. My number one fear is that we do bring in a septic hauler or a number of septic haulers, and they've maybe gotten a bad load or what we might call a hot load. They'll put that into the facility and it kills all our bugs. We kill all our bugs, that all these results are out the window.
Gotcha.
I can't make any results. The plant is dead at that point, and we have to start over. We would probably call another facility in the area and try and truck in some sludge just to get some good bugs that are alive and able to do the work that we need them to get the plant up and running again.
Let's get a bag of bugs.
so you want to be cautious, of course. So let me ask you, I mean, why you brought that up and this topic here. How, if we ever were to go that, how will we end up protecting ourselves on something like that? How do we do it?
We're working through a process right now with our security cameras and our security gate system. We would have the septic haulers basically come in, sign up, go through a checklist. We would check out the trucks to make sure that the trucks are the way we want them to be set up. And then we would give them a gate code. They would punch in that gate code. We would know exactly how much they're hauling in. Every time they punch in that gate code, we know to bill them that.
Now let me ask this, when you say hot load, give me an example of a hot load.
Somebody's done something bad in their septic tank, and that septic tank, maybe they threw 45 dead chickens in there or something like that. And
Great.
they
What's our fault?
man, that's a bad example.
That was not good.
They've thrown something in there that, blood or milk or something that's going to cause our bugs to basically die. They'll eat too much and too fast and they will die. If you can't lower the amount or the strength of the waste enough, you need to dilute that down to a certain point so that your bugs can handle it. If it's too strong of a waste, it will kill it.
So let me ask you, let's say for instance, and I'm just curious about this now, a septic, we just start doing this and a septic company comes in, dumps 5 loads and everything's fine, and the 6th load something happens and it gets in our system, then what do we do?
That's what we need to work out, yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm
So,
cautiously
I guess that I'm saying to you, you know, you got that there, and I like your thought. but we got to be careful, very careful. Because the one thing we cannot do is ever let this Rolls Royce we built run anything less than a Rolls Royce. We just can't. We owe it to the public to at least run it properly. All right, so I think, and by the way, when I mentioned the word tours and all that, and I know you're starting tours this week, aren't you, for the facility?
Tours today of 2 fourth grade classes.
And I know with our new website coming out, we're going to be showing an aerial view of it and all that, and I'm hoping that people will take advantage of the tours, because what you see is 4 buildings above ground, but there's a lot more underground you have no idea about. I mean, piping, and it's very impressive when you see it. I mean, I know the first time I saw it, I kept wondering how you got those pipes in there, but then I realized you built a building around the pipes because they were too big to get in, so it is impressive. All right. Any other questions on his report? One that I can see anyway? All right, thank you, Paul, very much. Okay, moving on to Community Development Quarterly Report.
Mayor and Council, before you is the Community Development and Building Report. Here we have 56 new construction. We have 6 additional in process, so we are up to 62 for the year so far, and we still have them coming in. We roughly have about 123 available lots still in water sewer for new construction, so we have a little bit of room, but those will fill up at this rate. Our vacant buildings have decreased throughout the year. That is due to some of the difficulty in getting them to register to begin with. Our rental is holding strong, and then our administrative citations have been pretty consistent with junk and debris, and some of the typical complaints that we get. So, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
First of all, I want to say, you saw 62 permits this time in the 10th month, and we had 37 total last year altogether, so that's a good thing there. The EDA is doing some acquiring of some properties that have been dilapidated for many, many years. The states are self for development, so I think that's a good idea. You're actually getting good use of the EDA for the first time, so I think that I want to commend you on that. Those couple of properties that we are in the midst of or have done already, I think it's a good idea. Like I say, when this development kicks, when this city starts growing, we want to be ahead of the game, not behind it. So I think that's a good deal. I want to commend your department for doing as well as you have so far. So thank you. I'll open up any discussion about any. Jerry? Yeah? So? Bob?
Looking good.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kate, very much. Okay, now I'm going to move on to council member reports, and I'll start with Rob.
I just have a little bit. I want to thank all the residents that came out to the fire department's French toast breakfast this weekend. It was a huge success. It was a great turnout and a great contribution to the fire department. So I appreciate that. So.
Okay. Joe?
I was unable to make that. However, I got to watch my son play baseball at the end of the year, and it was great. We did the Riverbank work session, and I think that was very informative, and we had a little bit of community involvement and engagement with the residents there, and I'd like to thank all those people that came out for that. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of that. So, that's it.
Jerry?
I want to apologize to the council. I missed the last meeting. You know, I called into work. It's kind of nature of the beast. Since I'm a fairly new employee there, I'm a floater, which means that I fill in for people that call in, and somebody had called in, and I had to fill in. The update that I was going to give at that meeting was the Upper Rum River Watershed Commission. I reported at the meeting prior to that they were going to have a meeting, and that meeting was actually postponed. A lot of people had canceled, so they didn't have a quorum, and then they reset the meeting up for a week later, and it was I had to work that day, so when our schedule is done, a month ahead of time, so I don't know when all these meetings are going to be scheduled, when they cancel one and throw another one up the next week after, so it made it difficult, but nothing new is going on with the Upper River Watershed Commission. They just kind of went over their public hearing, and there was no surprises there. Other than that, I have nothing to report. I want to remind everybody to drive safe. It's getting dark earlier, and it's staying dark later. so there's a lot of kids out there walking around. A lot of times they look like Johnny Cash wearing all black. So they're hard to see, and watch out for trick-or-treaters. There's going to be a lot of rugrats running around, and we want to make sure that all these kids are safe. So slow down. I have noticed that the police officers have been on Pedersen there, slowing everybody down. So I really like that. So I want to say thanks to the chief, and that's all I have.
Yeah, I also want to say thanks to the chief. I think we've had discussions about our ultimate goal there, and I think the chief's on the right direction on that. So we'll just have to see how it plays out, but keep up the good job on that. I think the word's getting out there. I think they're starting to see us, so that's a good thing. I like that community-oriented feeling with the police now. I think that's a good thing, and I appreciate that very much. Also, I want to mention about that Riverbank meeting, that work session we had last week. I want to thank Craig and Hawkins Anderson for doing the job that they did. We will wait now to see as Ben Gazzola from Samatech, our planner, along with Craig from Hawkins Anderson, put the application up for the grant by November. What's the date on that for the dead? 3rd of November. And then we'll have to wait, of course, till after the first of the year to see if we're going to get any. The question, of course, is how, if we are going to apply for it, if we get it, and then, of course, how much we will get. All depends on how many cities apply. I'm sure that if, and the nice thing about this one here, this was a grant that was not in effect, wasn't funding the last 2 years, got funded this year. I don't know if it'll be funded next year with the new governor coming in, but at this particular time, the grant money was for 14-some million dollars, went up to 25 million, which is good, but 30% of that is for rural cities, rural communities, so we're not comparing ourselves to a metropolitan area. We're going against something like Now and Then or Oak Grove. So that raised that 4.4 million to 7.4 million, which is good. So that's in play. I hope we see some money from there. We'll have to wait and see to know what scenario we're going to go with. But I want to thank you, Craig, for putting a heck of a plan together. As far as a contractor looking at it, I like what I saw very much. The drainer, it drains. We actually are working to get the water to go where we want it to go instead of where it wants to go, and that's a good thing. So hopefully we can solve a problem that's been ongoing for quite a long time. In general, I want to thank staff all the way along. We're doing some new changes, new additions to our administration, adding some people there, and I think that's a good idea to get us out of that lean and mean to work well as we're starting to grow. One thing this council is doing, and I want to impress this upon the people here, the words on a brochure that say progress, pride, and possibilities are just words. This council, this staff is now putting the teeth behind those words to make it happen. It's a long-term plan, like I said earlier, with the comp plan that we're looking at in St. Francis Forward. If we get to 50% of fruition on that plan, we'll have done really well. But in the meantime, it gives us a roadmap, and that's a good start. So we're doing some good things. Once again, I can't impress upon you enough that this council understands we serve you, the public, and that's something I hope that you realize now, 10 months into our term, that there's a change here. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. If there's no further business, which I think there's not, I will call the meeting adjourned at 7:48. Thank you.
I was going to suggest that the tax